This is Matthew Ricks, and today's email that we received, probably one that I think most artists have come across. If you want to submit a question on the music industry, go to MatthewRicks.com. Absolutely free. I don't need you to buy a program or join my book club or Patreon or anything like that. Just if you got a question on the music industry and you want it answered, I got you. Now, for those who don't know who I am Matthew Ricks. I've been in the music industry since I was 16 years old, started at Jive Records. I've done marketing, I've done A&R, I've done management, I've done pretty much it all. I started in 2014 doing the Mattrix Minute, which is about a 90-second music industry advice program that you can listen to on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, Amazon, whatever. And I just always get a ton of emails. I opened it up so you, the artist, the emerging artist, can get the advice that you need without paying for it or being scammed, which we're going to talk about here, which I think we have a music industry scam happening. And so once again, if you have a question you want to ask about the music industry, go to MatthewRicks.com and click submit your question. Now let's jump into the email. This guy is, I would say, probably a pretty young artist, just by the content of this email. But like I said, I think that this is probably something most of you guys have come across, and it drives me up the wall that these people are able to get away with this. So the email says, "Hey, Matthew, I know over the years you've talked on the Mattrix Minute about not paying up front for a manager or booking agent, but I feel like my situation might be different from most artists." It's not going to be different from most artists. The email says, "I'm just starting out in the music industry, and I know that it will be some time before I make enough money for a manager to get paid just off of royalties in a traditional way. And I've also realized that no manager or booking agent should be expected to work for free. So I've been in discussions with someone who wants me to pay $500 a month to be managed by them." Everybody in the music industry, whether you're a record label, a booking agent, a manager, they all roll the dice on an artist. Doesn't matter how big the artist. You could work with the biggest artist in the world and they're going to get Me Too'd, and then all of a sudden that dries up. Or you can work with the smallest guy who turns into be the next big thing. Or you can work with an artist and nothing happens. You do roll that dice. I don't care. Everybody always looks at these major labels. And when I worked at Sony and Warner at different times, of course, people always looked at the top 1% artists, but they didn't realize that at that time we had 80, 90 artists that you've never heard of that we signed. They got the signing bonus. We threw them in the studio and nobody cared. So when you're in the music industry, if you are doing a management company, if you're doing a booking agency, a publishing, paying up front for your services, it's not really that you believe in that artist. It's really that you're just whoever's check clears, you'll be passionate about them. But let's continue. This guy says they're a very exclusive management company representing only 19 other artists. So $500 a month with 19 artists. That's pretty good money right there to do absolutely squat. That's good money. That's close to $10,000 a month. If they added you, it would be $10,000 a month that they're making if they're charging everyone $500, which why wouldn't they? And then the email also says that I would also have to pay 15% of all revenue that comes in. So $500 a month plus 15% of revenue. They know there's no money coming in because you're a brand new artist. So they got to make their rent. They got to, pay for their date nights. They got to pay for their vacations to Vegas. So the best way to do it is grift a bunch of unsuspecting artists $500 a month. And here's the thing. Back in 2014, we did a live event in Austin, Texas, and I met a guy who he had paid, I want to say he came up to me and he said, "I wish I would have discovered you before," because I had spent, I think it was like $52,000 on internet scams from people who were going to like pitch his music to record labels and all this stuff. And he was like embarrassed. And I get it. You just spent a year's salary for some people on guys who have no connections. They don't know what they're talking about. and they're just preying on your fears. The email goes on to say, for context, they told me they would handle setting up my music distribution. So the email doesn't say, but if they're setting up your music distribution, well, then they pay you what comes in for the stream. So now they're handling your money as well. And if you don't pay or money's tight, they could lock your royalties. They could lock your album up because they're the distributor for it. Email says they'll start making calls to record labels and agencies to try to secure me a record deal, and also reaching out to booking agents on my behalf. Calls I wouldn't be able to make myself. If you got 19 artists and your first initial handshake with these people is pay us $500, they don't really know a lot of people in the industry. Nobody's going to want to work with them because they know, like, you're not passionate about this artist. You don't love this artist. You're doing this to collect a paycheck. When I was in A&R, I was approached a lot of times by these types of managers. And you just saw them coming a mile away because they're like really hopped up on this guy or this artist or this band or whatever. And then 3 months down the road, they don't even talk about this guy. Well, what happened? The artist lost their job. They couldn't pay the monthly retainer anymore. And I would usually push back. There was a record label at one point out of the Midwest in America that these artists were paying like $5,000, $10,000 to be on their record label. And they'd send them to their studio and they would have their producer produce them. And they were kicking out hundreds of releases a year. All of them did nothing. All of them couldn't even, sell 100 copies. And it was typically two types of demographics of artists. It was like the 18, 19-year-olds that they can milk mom and dad to pay for the record deal, or middle-aged, married husband or wife who's got more funds to be able to do this. And this went on for a year. I don't even know what happened to him. I need to figure out what happened to him. But they were doing this, and I made it my life's mission in like 2013, 2014 to battle these guys. Because they weren't even putting out good product. Like it was like intern production, but it was a record label, and these artists were running around thinking they struck gold because their $10,000 check cleared. So if you have a manager who's like, well, if you pay me, I'm going to go and contact record labels, or I'm going to go contact booking agents for $500, they should be doing that for free if they're your manager. They should be doing all of this stuff because they believe in you, and they're going to roll the dice on the possible payout for you as an artist. That investment comes down the road. Well, let's continue with the email. He says, I feel like my situation is different because I'm not an established artist. I was discovered simply by posting a clip of my very first song on TikTok. And now this management company wants to roll the dice on me. What do you think? Thanks for your time, Bob. I'm confused how you're a new artist, but you've been listening to me for some time. I think you probably cherry-picked some Mattrix minutes, and now you're just sending a question in, which is fine. I appreciate the question, but please don't be going around saying, like, oh yeah, I follow Matthew Rick's work, but then I posted a 15-second clip on TikTok. Some guy slid into my DMs, and now I'm going to pay him $6,000 a year to be my manager. Because what's going to happen is I will tell you the scam and the grift right now, because I've seen it happen for years. I actually manage artists right now. Okay, I'm not going to make any money on these guys for the longest time because I'm making an investment in their future. I believe in them as people. I believe in their art. I'm not making any money. But let me tell you what the grift is. The grift is this. You keep paying, they will get you a meeting with somebody. It's probably going to be, a guy who is starting a company, or a guy whose cousin is related to the janitor at a record label. And as long as you keep paying, they'll keep dangling the carrot. And when you start to raise questions, hey, I've paid $6,000 this year and nothing has happened. Oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. Don't you worry. We got something coming. Or because most artists are so desperate for any type of movement, they'll book you they'll help you. They won't book it, but they'll help you do an album release show or a quote unquote showcase in Nashville or LA or New York. And nobody will be there. And they'll just keep, as long as you're paying every month, they'll just keep dangling the carrot. And I believe right now that the only person you should pay up front, and only half up front, for the work that they're going to do is a producer or a mixer, engineer, whatever. Someone in the production side. Anybody on the business side, manager, booking agent, record label, A&R directors. That's a good scam as well, is that there's quote unquote A&R consultants on the internet who, if you pay them money, they will pitch your music to a record label. And it's not just any record label. It's like Warner, Universal, Capitol, whatever. And you pay them. And then you don't get signed, obviously, because they don't know anybody. And then when you don't want to pay anymore, they're like, oh, we're close. I got an email. And that's the scam. I personally, right now, I'm not saying this company's a scam. It most likely is. I don't care how nice they are. I don't care how cool they are. I don't care how much they talk a good game. If they believe in you, they should roll the dice on the investment. They should know that they're going to work with you for months, maybe years, without making a dime or a little bit of money, $5, $10, whatever, because they know what's coming down the pipeline. If they have real connections, if they have real smarts in the industry, then they should be able to, over time, make more than that $500 a month as your manager. But to pay somebody $500 a month plus royalties, plus they're handling your distribution, you are setting yourself up to be locked out of your TuneCore, DistroKid, CD Baby account until you pay them. Because I can guarantee you, when people volunteer to, like, oh yeah, we'll put your music out, we'll set it up, whatever, they're technically the rights holder. They control the communication with that DSP. So no, if I was your friend, if I was your parents, your spouse, whatever, I would tell you right now, save the $500 a month. These people aren't going to do squat for you. You're going to be locked into a contract that you have to pay them. And when you don't, they'll ruin your career. And what typically happens with artists like this is that they fell into these scams. They got their hopes up. They spent a ton of money. It didn't work out. And guess what happens? They get jaded. They don't care about music anymore because these snakes in the grass had no intentions of ever helping you. But they had all the intentions of just bleeding you dry of your money. So if you have a question on the music industry and you want it answered, go to MatthewRicks.com, click submit your question. And until next time, I will talk to you later.